Welcome back to Light Talk, where everyday people can share their spiritual journey experiences with a safe and supportive community. If you would like to be a guest on the show and tell your stories, email lighttalk423 at gmail.com. And while you're at it, click on that like, share, and subscribe buttons. Well, today we welcome a special guest. His name is Bubba Sam Shelley, and he's going to tell us a little bit about himself.
All right, Dana. Well, it's a real pleasure and honor to be here today.
And we
S-
welcome you.
Yes, thanks for having me here. So I think we need to start at the beginning, if you will, at least a brief history of my beginning. At age 6, I was run over by a van, and this created significant injuries. And so this really shaped my life at this point, having this injury because I was sick and disabled for 38 years as a result of this injury. But one of the things that most interesting things that happened at the point of this injury, I remember waking up, seeing this bright white light and three beings on each side of me, and then that's all I remembered until the next morning, my mom said to me, "Why'd you remove your tubes? Why'd you remove your life support?" And I had no answer for her. I just saw these beings remove tubes. But mom was right, it had to be me. But she didn't step back and say, "Wait a second, how did he do this?" And something else interesting that happened as well that just brought to my attention, I remembered recently. My mom, she has since passed, but I remember her sharing a story that there was this girl in the neighborhood that would visit me every day when I eventually came home from the hospital. Well, I remember my other friends visiting me, but I now have no recollection, no memory of this girl visiting me every day. And my mom says one day she just moved away. So I had this interesting visitor as well during my recovery process. So, but it sort of all got repressed and sort of not in forefront of my mind, if you will. So I went through all these challenges of being a bipolar, being suicidal in my 20s, almost taking my own life, migraines, psoriasis, arthritis. Then eventually at age 37, losing the ability to walk from multiple sclerosis. So I had all these health challenges. Then, when I had all these health challenges like MS, from the MS, I lost the ability to walk. But so at this point in my life, I was really stressed out and overwhelmed with life. But I used to watch a lot of TV because I was a couch potato. So I used to watch ghost hunting shows. But I didn't know if it was real or fake. It's TV, it could be scripted. I didn't know, but I found it entertaining. So I was watching this. And then I saw a tweet from a ghost hunter. Hey, we're having this ghost hunt at Fort Mifflin in Philadelphia. I was like, okay, I can probably, suit up, if you will, put on my ice packs and my cane and everything I needed to attend this event because it was in the summer and summer and heat MS don't mix well at each other. They don't mix. So I had to have a cooling vest for this. And I did my research as well because I know I'd be only good for an hour, hour and a half at most with the MS and the fatigue and all the other difficulties I was having. So I went on this ghost hunt, and I did my research. So I went into the casemates where they house the Civil War prisoners. So I went into this casemates first. I know Chris Williams was in this area, and it was her group going there first. It didn't matter what group I was assigned to first. I think it may have been Dave Tango. I think it might have been his group, but I ignored that and went over with Chris Williams and did that. So I was sitting there in the casemates, and it was kind of boring at first because we were trying to do EVPs, which I felt was really odd because it was right next to near the airport. It was very loud and stuff, and I was kind of bored. Not much was happening. Then someone put out their flashlight and they were asking the flashlight questions, and the flashlight was going on and off by command. I thought, well, that's interesting, but that's their flashlight. So I put my flashlight out as well. And it also was responding to commands like, well, that's interesting. Then I was sitting on this bench. Then, it felt like somebody sat next to me that I could not see. It's like, well, that's interesting. Then I felt a sense of dread as well overcome me from this person that I could not see. So I left the event after that because, I was, well, actually, I went to another area briefly, but then I didn't stay there long and just, I was getting tired, so I just left. But I was curious. Most people have been like entertained. Well, that was interesting, but it just opened a door to me, if you will, that I was really curious. What did I experience? So I heard about mediums speak to dead people. Let me go read some books from mediums and see what I find out. But it took me a while because my eyesight was very poor and the migraines and all the issues I had. I could maybe read like 4 or 5 pages before I would start getting a headache and all these difficulties. But eventually I read that meditation brings inner peace. They're just talking about meditation and this page. And I was like, I need inner peace. And so I began a practice then of meditation. And then, very quickly, very in a short amount of time, because I never had any formal instruction on meditation. I simply meant that I thought you meant you just sit still and you just relax. But I also had the impression that when you're in the state of meditation, if you will, that the mind stops thinking. So I quickly just, so the first week, the mind be thinking, I'll be stop thinking, mind thinking, stop thinking. So I was in this loop, going through this loop. Then I realized, wait a second, that's a thought chasing a thought. So I'm not my thoughts. If I'm not my thoughts, then who am I? Then I sat with that question because I simply had a 5 minute a day practice. It wasn't very complicated, it wasn't very difficult. So I basically focusing mind thinking. Then I learned mind thinking, just come back to my feet, come back into this moment. But I was sitting with this question, if I'm not my thoughts, who am I? Then one day I got my answer. I just heard this intuitive voice say, perfect spirit. I'm like, that's it. I am spirit. I am not this damaged body and mind. And I simply knew all is well. All sense of fear about my health was simply gone. And I just felt free and liberated, I guess you could say. And just jumping ahead, about 14 months after that experience of knowing myself as perfect spirit, I no longer have signs of any disease. I don't need medicine. I don't use my cane anymore. It's all done. And so it was really interesting, this rapid healing that I had after suffering for, 38 years. And then I'm here today, helping people to go beyond their thoughts, their head trash, and really into who they really are, that spirit, that soul.
That's amazing. What an amazing story.
S- So that's
That
my
is
story in
awesome.
a nutshell. That is how I got from being sick to where I am today.
That is very awesome. And to think that just meditating can help
Yeah,
heal you like that is just, it's such a wild world we live in.
yeah, so it just really leads me into those kind of questions because I've run into people
Yeah,
meditating for 10, 20 years and they're not getting this benefit, if you will, this experience. So it leads me back to like what happened at age 6, 7, in that time frame with these visitors for me to have that experience that would unlock that door, if you will. I had to have that paranormal experience, if you will, to question my reality.
right, right. And to know that um, you were on life support. You were saying, right? You were on life
Yes.
support, and here you are. I mean, yeah, it's just speechless. It's just an
Yeah.
amazing thing.
Yeah. I was on life support and they removed my tubes and everything. It was like, and I'm still here, and so you just have to leads to be believe that they're probably doing some kind of healing there. But I still was in the hospital for a year, but I think they were still instilling something within me, if you will, an endowment of some sort that would unlock if a certain condition came along.
Oh wow. That's incredible.
So now I just help
That's
people to,
awesome.
go beyond that mind and into who they are. And people get miraculous transformations rather quickly because what I do, I'm not chasing thoughts with thoughts. Like some life coaches, some teachers, if you will be almost like talk therapy. Like I saw a psychiatrist for 15, 17 years for the bipolar, not on any medicine now. Some doctors cannot explain me. And they're not really interested in explaining me either.
That's probably because it's a holistic kind of healing and it's not the medical side. Do you
Right,
think that's it?
exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. There's no financial gain there.
Mm-hmm.
They don't really want to know about me, if you will.
Well, we can splatter your name all over the place and see what happens.
Yeah, because I just want people that I'm
Yeah.
spirit, you're spirit, we're all spirit, and we
Right.
forget this that we are the light.
Mm-hmm.
We are that. We
We are.
exist, as Bashar says, we exist and will always exist because we
Yes.
are this light and we forget. We get trapped in our identity, our humanity, and our thoughts, and it's not supporting us usually, these thoughts.
Yeah.
That's why I call it the head trash. And we need to throw that stuff out and be who we are without limitations, living life as we wish to live it.
Yeah. Okay. I'm honest. I'm working on it. I got a lot to work on here.
But see, that's also a belief that there's a lot to work on.
There's a lot to work on
But why is that true?
because I'm human.
But that's still a story. You're light, having a human experience.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
You
like
are soul, you're a spirit. And that's what I help people unwind these stories that are not serving them. I had a very simple 5 minute a day practice, and I saw it wasn't my thoughts. And then what I'm seeing when I work with individuals too, when that mind is out of the way, that mental interference, the body does an amazing synchronicity. It comes back into balance, back into harmony rather quickly when there's no longer this mental interference. So when I'm working with individuals, I'm really getting to this deep meditative state and I'm actually merging with them and really bringing them into balance because I want them to see that they inhabit their body. They know it the best. So we simply have to get that mind out of the way and allow them to do what they feel is best for them, for their path.
yeah.
Because we have to remember, we know the mind is making us forget, thinking it has to be more complicated, more difficult. And it doesn't have to be this way.
Yeah. But it is. It's hard for us humans.
It's
Being in
only
these bodies is hard.
it's very dense. I understand that the
Yeah.
mind gets really trapped into these stories, and we're really ingrained in school that we go to school, we work hard, we get
Yeah.
higher education, then we get this job. But do we choose to incarnate to go to school to work a job?
No. No.
See, that's
I
part,
don't think we do, but we end up here.
yeah, because we're programmed this way.
Yeah.
And it doesn't need to be this way, that we're here to enjoy life, to celebrate life, to be excited by life. But most of us in the drama. And this was a way for me for 38 years of pain and suffering. I was really trapped in this human condition until I saw I have thoughts, but I'm not thoughts. Very similar to what Eckhart Tolle experienced when he was depressed. I can't live with myself. I can't live with myself. Who's the I can't live with? The mind.
The mind.
The false
The
identity.
ego. Yeah.
Yeah.
Deep, deep. And then that's another thing that's funny. All of this is like so deep, but yet it's so shallow at the same time.
Yeah.
It's it's amazing. I mean, this whole thing just amazes me. It really does.
Yeah. The mind loves to overcomplicate things.
Yeah.
It really overcomplicates things. It tries to figure things out, and it's not our job to figure things out. I had no concept of healing myself. That was way too big of a leap for my mind to accept. Because everything you read is you can't get rid of MS, you can't get rid of bipolar, you can't get rid of migraines. They're just like your permanent conditions. But why is that true? I don't have any of this anymore. My doctors can't explain me because the divine cannot be explained. And we are the divine.
Wow. You guys are all getting me in this boggle of a mind myself.
Well,
All
well,
my guests.
your show's about being the light, so let's be the
Yeah.
light.
Let's be the light. Yeah, that's true. Let's talk of this light. Let's bring this light about and show the
Yeah,
light.
your light wants
I
to
got
play,
it. Yeah.
enjoy life, celebrate life.
Let's play, Dana. Woo!
Absolutely. Make life enjoyable. It can be miserable or enjoyable. It's
Enjoyable.
completely our choice. We're giving this free will. And the free will I really see is are we taking the mind as our truth? Or are we taking our soul as the truth? That's the choice we're making, fear-based or love-based.
Yes. Yes. And that's absolutely true. Yeah. Yeah. Woo. When we spoke, it got me like, um, when we spoke before, you were talking about a situation of like a traffic jam.
Hmm.
Would you like
Yeah.
to tell that story?
Yeah, because we have to remember that we're all spirits, that we're all souls, and we forget this. We get trapped, and that's why, the spirit is here, whether the body is here or not. But sometimes when there is a traumatic event, the soul may not realize the body has dropped. So this leads into this traffic accident. One day I was going to work. There's this big traffic delay. There's a serious accident up the road, and I learned that it was a fatality. So later that night, coming back from work, when I was working a job at that time, I was going to my yoga studio, and I was just sitting there in meditation before yoga began. And I just felt myself being pulled to this location, to this accident scene. It's like, oh, okay. So I'll get to this. I'm astral travel to this accident scene, and I see this woman on the side of the road standing there. I'm like, oh, she didn't know she passed. So I just helped her move on and just encouraged her to the light that, had to explain to her that yes, you have passed. Your loved ones are waiting for you. Your family here will be okay. And just having that conversation with her. And I run into this every so often where I communicate with spirit because we are spirit, we are that. So, and it's always here now in this moment. So you can see there's always these parallel realities, if you will. So it's like, okay, we can connect. We can connect to these spirits here because we're connected to all that is. And sometimes we have to have these conversations with them to encourage them to move on. And I've done this a few times in my life. My former girlfriend's house, her dogs would never go in the basement. I'm like, well, that's curious. These dogs were high energy dogs. They were like, was the name dog? Border Collies. Border Collies are high, high energy. And these dogs would not go into the basement. I'm like, well, that's really curious. They would literally put their head down into the basement, but they would not go down the steps. They would go upstairs fine. They weren't afraid of the steps. They'd just stick their head down and they would not go down beyond that. So one day I was like, oh, that's curious. So I went down to the basement. Then I saw like, there's somebody there in the corner. Who's that?
And did you find out?
Yes, eventually, but he was kind of shy, but eventually I figured out because this house was down the street from Penhurst. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Penhurst in Pennsylvania, but it was a home for these mentally challenged kids with disabilities. And they were really neglected and abused in this place, Penhurst. So this doctor, he was a doctor there, but he felt ashamed, if you will, because he couldn't do anything about the conditions, if you will. It wasn't his job. He was just a doctor, he was an administrator, but he felt really guilty and shameful. So this is where they had to have the conversation with him that tell him it was not his fault. He was doing his best and to release him from that guilt, that shame. But we really had to have a conversation for a half hour, 45 minutes to get him to move on. He was so burdened, so weighed down from that traumatic experience. But once he was relieved of that and moved him on, and I know he moved on because next time up in the basement door, the dogs went flying down, and it was a new playground, a new discovery for them.
Yeah, my dog doesn't go downstairs either. I think there's something with it too, with her, because she'll put her paws off the top step and just let them dangle. And she won't go any further than that.
Yeah, because they like to hide down there. I'm finding, the spirits like to hide down there. They don't want to really with that human interaction so much. So they hide down there. And they're really being stuck, if you will. Instead of crossing over, they're stuck in this lower spiritual realm, having this ghostly experience, I guess you could say. And they just need to be talked to assured that, whatever they were going through, that it's over, it's done with, it's time to, move on and continue the spiritual experience. And it's just, what happens that we get caught up in this humanity because there's a lot of burdens that we can carry with all this guilt, the shame that can really suppress us. Or, if they die traumatically and they're unaware that they have passed. This could have been the case as well if it wasn't guilt, shame. Maybe they died in the basement. Who knows? And they're
Yes.
stuck there, they're trapped.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's died in the house here, but I wonder about the grounds. I'm
Mm,
just kind of curious. What kind of grounds do we have here?
yeah.
Because,
Yeah, because
yeah.
yeah, yeah, there's a lot of history here that we don't know. We don't know
Mm-hmm.
what happened on this land.
Right.
And maybe in some cases, maybe it was a former cemetery and they found this, it was sacred ground. And now it was suddenly disturbed by this neighborhood that was built onto it, like poltergeist. That's what's coming to mind. But nothing is
Yeah.
like that though, because they're just trapped. They're not here to harm us, to cause harm. But there are some jokesters in that realm. But
Yeah. Yeah. I don't feel any harm or anything with them. I just feel like my dog is seeing or feels something down there that she's not liking. But
yeah,
she
I'm just
watches
wondering.
Spirit all the time in the house, though,
Yeah,
upstairs.
yeah, I'm sure she picks it up. But if
Yeah.
you, yeah, it would be interesting if you sat in meditation in your basement and really got still and really, brought yourself up to their vibration, if you will, and you could just be a psychologist for them and see what's going on, what kind of burdens are they carrying, because we're meant to, to have these human experiences or whatever experience will be. It doesn't have to be human. It could be somewhere else. There's other life forms out there. The universe is brimming with all sorts of life and all sorts of things. And We're here to continue this, not get stuck in these lower planes of spirituality, if you will.
Yeah. Well, you gave me an idea of what I should do, so maybe when we get done here, I will
Yeah,
check
just
that
go
one
in the
out.
basement
Yay.
and just
Yeah, just,
meditate to bring that vibration up so you can chat with them and see what's going on and maybe feel into what's going on. And
yeah,
just trust your instincts on that. The mind will try to judge. Just trust whatever comes.
yeah. Yeah, I'll have to do that. I know that I meditate down there, but I've never had anything with them. So, with the spirit that's down there. But I don't
Yeah,
know.
you just
Maybe I
never know.
might bring something up. Yeah.
Yeah, if they're not, they'll be, free up. Give your dog new areas to explore, you know. I'm
Yeah.
sure she's really curious, like what's going on down the basement.
Yeah.
But there's a scary woman down there and a scary man down there that I don't understand. Who are they? Who's that stranger living in my basement?
Right, right. Yeah, and that's kind of what I'm thinking because there's somebody down there.
Yeah, and they're
Yeah,
picking it up
yeah,
because they don't have these mental barriers, if you will, lowering their vibration.
right, right. She got to playing with one spirit one time. She's looking at it, and um, her tail starts wagging, and then she looks up at it, and just before she really starts digging into her play, she'll give it like a roar, and that's what she did. So somebody was there playing with her.
Yeah,
I thought that was
yeah.
cool.
So they're who knows? Maybe it's a child as well and wants to play with interacting with the dog, because who knows? There are no rules, there's no restrictions. They just, and hopefully they're not stuck here. They're just coming down just to see what's going on in humanity, or it could be a past loved one just checking on things
Hmm. Yeah.
because we always exist,
Yes.
regardless of the body's here or not. And that's really hard for people to understand that this isn't your one life. You've had many lives before this, and you will have many lives after this, whether it's on Earth or someplace else. You are consciousness.
Right. Right. I do believe that. I do believe that. Yeah. Yeah. Did you have any other stories you would like to tell
I always have stories and
us?
things going on. There's always something, that there's this life is just beautiful. So I was just curious, what's your pressing questions in life that you can't seem to sort out or figure out, or because the mind's blocking your own knowing, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what kind of fun stuff that you've encountered?
Fun stuff I encountered. Well, Fort Mifflin was fun. The Spirit from Penhurst was fun. Um, the accident victim wasn't so much fun. But let's see what else is, interesting out there that comes along. Yeah, it's just yeah, there's always jokesters in the spiritual realms, in our apartment here in New York City. Things will just disappear out of nowhere. And like, I know it was here. Next day it's back.
At least you get it next day. I'm still waiting. I have a hat that's disappeared, and I haven't found it yet. And
Maybe it's in the basement. Maybe somebody hid it down there for you.
I could look. Yeah, that might be an idea. Yeah.
Yeah, you never know. It just does that thing. So that's where I get into this space where I just help people, and I just really want people to be their vibrant soul and to really see that you are connected to all things. So if you have this hat, you can connect with that hat. Say, show me where you are. And this makes no sense. And this reminds me of a fun story. Here's a fun story. All right, so it was in New Jersey. I saw a discarded couch on the curb. And I simply said to the couch, I'm sorry you were discarded. And the couch said, no worries. It was my time.
Oh, really? Oh, that's fun. That's fun.
Because it all is consciousness.
Yeah.
It literally is. Like you have trees in your background or bushes, whatever they may be. Talk to them. You know, when if they're really your trees, you can go out there and talk to them, have conversations, and why not? We're all light. We're all consciousness. We create these mental barriers that there's separation, and there is no separation. We are one with all, and one is all. It's all part of this oneness. And that's really how I help you. I merge into oneness with them and really see what's going on, which reminds me of a fun story, but it wasn't really so fun for this woman I was working with. She was in her 30s. She never could have a good relationship. She never understood why she could never have a good relationship. So I just started talking to her, doing what I do, and was like, what's going on here at age 6? It looks like you're watching a show or something. What's going on here? She's like, oh, yeah, we just moved to this new neighborhood. We're watching a dance performance. And I was really upset because I couldn't participate in the dance performance. I just moved into the area and I didn't know the routine. I'm like, oh,
Oh,
that left you feeling not good enough and not worthy, hasn't it? She goes, yeah, that is it. And this is why you're not having those relationships that you want, because there's deep ingrained belief within you that you are not good enough, that you are not worthy. So we were able to clear through the head trash that was really snowballed from age 6. It just snowballed into this big mental block that she wasn't good enough for a man of her liking, if you will. So she
wow.
had this belief, and it was just sitting there and just waiting to be unveiled. And that's where most of our head trash, like I call it, isn't in the conscious mind. It is in the subconscious that we're not even aware of it. So we need to root this stuff out. So I like to root that stuff out. And I do have a community where I do that, and I call it my Vibrant Soul Society, where we are these vibrant souls, and we're here to get rid of the head trash so we can really enjoy life and live life on our terms. And I do these healing sessions in this group, and we're just clearing stuff out. It doesn't have to be a
Yeah.
complicated process.
Yeah, that's so amazing. Well, I've had a great time listening to you and your stories, and I'm sitting here processing a lot of stuff for myself going on. So you were meant for me to talk to tonight because it's a lot I I'm relating to.
Yeah, just
So it's
realize
awesome.
we're we're constructing mental walls that don't need to be there. They could all be torn down and allow your light to shine. It's never too late. You can always hit reset.
Yeah. Well, it's been awesome. Thank you so much for all your intelligence for with us and everything. And that's been great. It's been
All right.
so
Thank you,
awesome.
Dana, for having me here. It's not
Oh,
my intelligence, it's the divine intelligence that is us.
that
We get
is
so lost in the physical mind that we forget the divine mind, our divinity, that it's all within us, that we know. And the mind has convinced you that you don't know, don't trust yourself. Trust you, trust your insights, trust your way. It's perfect.
well, we're going to end at that. That was beautiful.
All right. Great.
Well, thank you again for being on the
Yeah,
show.
thank you, Dana. Love it.
Yeah. Well, if any of you out there in the audience would like to be on the show and tell your stories, again, email lighttalk423@gmail.com. And while you're at it, click on that like, share, and subscribe button. I hope to see you soon and hope to have you on my show. Thank you again, Sam.
All right.
Uh,
Thank you.
bye.
Great. Good talking to you. Bye bye.